So remember. Anyone want to start the floor with any questions? Don't be shy, because by you asking a question, someone is probably thinking the exact same thing. So ask away. I've got a couple of questions written down here as well that people want me to answer. So yeah, if you have any questions, just fire away. Don't be shy. If you don't feel like talking on the camera either, feel free to use the chat box as well and just pop your questions in the chat box. If you don't feel like speaking, I know it can be a little bit nerve-wracking sometimes jumping on a Zoom. I'll start the floor to break the ice with one of these questions I have written down here. And that is, I'm struggling to stay on track with my calories. I haven't been in a deficit before, and I'm finding this quite difficult. So if you're finding being in a deficit, if you are in a calorie deficit, quite difficult, it is 100% normal. And the reason why it is normal to feel like that, especially at the start, is because you've gone from eating a certain amount of food to then all of a sudden completely decreasing the amount of calories that you're used to having. So sometimes the side effects of being in a deficit can be feeling a little bit hungry, can be feeling a little bit sluggish, can be feeling a little bit tired. It's just a matter of making sure that you're hitting your protein targets so that you are staying nice and full, and just making sure that you stick to those deficit numbers as best you possibly can. There is a little bit of wiggle room for around 50 to 100 calories if you are in a calorie deficit, but you do ideally want to try your hardest to stay within those calories as best you possibly can. If you have a day where you just can't do it and you find it really, really hard, my suggestion is to not beat yourself up about it. Just do the best you possibly can. Make sure that you get back on track the next day or the next meal. Look, you're going to have days where it's not always easy. You're going to have days where you're a little bit more stressed. You're going to have days where being in a calorie deficit is not probably the top of your priority list, but you just have to do the best you possibly can and not let that one day completely spin you out and put you into what I call fuck it mode, which is when you just go, oh, I've had one bad day and now it's all over. So try not to let yourself get into that mindset. You've got to remember that you can pick up from where you left off. Literally the next day or your next meal is the best opportunity to do that. And the best way to stay on track when you're having those moments, when you're having those days, is by having meal prep. So if you've got meal prep in your fridge, if you've made meals beforehand, or you've been proactive and you've put some protein, then you know that you've got that in the fridge waiting for you. So if you've had a day where you just completely blown your calories, at least you've got your meal prep waiting there for you to get back on track on. So hopefully that helps and answers that question. A lot of it is just mindset. It's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's that you've just got to work through it. You've got to try your best to stay on track. Hopefully that answers that question. Does anyone on the Zoom have a question they want to ask me before I go to the next one that's written down? Don't be shy. No question is a silly question either in my books, so please don't be afraid to ask those questions. I have another. Okay, I'll answer another question that I've got written down here then. One of them was rest in between sets. Now, taking rest in between your sets is a really important part of muscle hypertrophy, which is when you gain muscle, build muscle. And if you're wanting to tone up, if toning up is your goal, then you need to be taking those rests in between your sets. You need to be lifting heavier. You need to be making sure that you are ultimately strength training. So the best way to achieve muscle hypertrophy is through strength training, as we know, and through those rests in between your sets. Because sometimes I get people messaging me going, oh, my rest set was way too long. Look, that rest set is where your body actually gets a chance to recover and repair and then get ready to go for that next set. If you're in a group fitness situation, you might not be resting as much, but you might be doing a different exercise that will give that body part that you've just worked a bit of a break, if that makes sense. And if you're in a group fitness setting, then instead of one of the exercises that you've been told to do in your circuit, for example, maybe just take a rest set in between. You've always got to remember what your goal is. So if your goal is to tone up, aka build muscle, we want to achieve hypertrophy, and the best way to do that is to be resting in between our sets and making sure we are strength training and lifting heavy. So hopefully that answers that question. But I know mentally you're like, oh, I should be working my whole entire set. I should be working out for the whole entire 30 minutes or 40 minutes that I've dedicated to exercise. It doesn't always need to be like that. Resting in between your sets is crucial. Okay, I'll just answer this question about building muscle since that's what we're talking about. If your goal is to build muscle, say for lower body day, do you want to be doing the same exercises every leg day and increasing weights or changing up the exercise? Really good question. Your body loves repetition. So my advice to you is to, for at least 4 to 6 weeks, stay doing the same exercises and just increasing the load. You might want to increase the load and increase the rest in between your sets. If your goal is to build your lower body, repetition. You don't need to be doing heaps of different exercises. You might be able to chuck in an extra exercise here and there to add to that, to your strength training sessions, your lower body ones, but you don't need to be changing it up. So the key exercises that you want to stick to for lower body are squats, hip thrusts with the barbell. And if you're just starting out using a dumbbell or body weight, glute bridges or hip thrusts, lunges, barbell lunges, Romanian deadlifts, hamstring curls, and calf raises. Those are like your 7 key leg exercises. And if you're in a gym that has one, a leg press. So those are like your key lower body exercises that you want to stick to. Other than that, you don't really need to go and try and do other exercises. You have got exercises like clamshells, leg lifts, and all those things like Pilates style exercises that you do lying on the floor. Those exercises are great for muscle activation. So if you're finding it really hard to activate your glutes, or you're finding it really hard to activate your leg muscles in certain exercises, try using those little exercises before you start your workout, just to help you get that switch on that mind muscle connection to be able to do the exercise more effectively. So yes, trying to do those same exercises each week and increasing the load is really important for muscle hypertrophy, but also just consistency. Your body loves repetition. It really, really does. Like if you're trying to build your biceps, for example, you wouldn't want to do biceps on Monday, week 1, and then not do them again until like week 4 on Friday. That's not consistent enough. So this is where controlled strength training is going to give you the best results possible. So hopefully that answers that question. Alexandra, let me know if you need me to elaborate further on that. All right, Alyssa has asked, will your body adjust to the deficit? Like you're a little bit hungry when you begin and it will progressively get better. Yes, it will get better. You've also got to remember that being in a deficit is a very short-term thing. You're not going to be in a deficit forever. You're not going to be in a deficit for the whole year. You're only going to be in a deficit for a short period of time. Your body is very clever and it will adapt to those amount of calories. So that's where we have to introduce things like refeeds, which is when we put your calories back up to maintenance again. For the first 2 weeks, though, I generally get people in the same amount of calories each day just to get their body into a good rhythm and to help you build habits with your calories. And then as we go further into things, that's where I introduce refeed days. That's going to really help you, especially if you're finding you're hungry on your deficit. What that looks like, it could look like 5 out of 7 days in your week, you're in your deficit calories. So you're having, say your deficit is 1,800 calories, you're having 1,800 calories Monday to Friday, and then Saturday and Sunday, you're having your refeed days, which are, say, 2,200. That really does help with the deficit hunger. And I would also just make sure that you are counting your protein and checking in and making sure you are hitting your protein targets, because that's obviously going to help you stay nice and full and satiated. But yeah, it does get better. It's just a matter of you adjusting. And look, if you're exercising and you're in a deficit and you're finding that you're so hungry and you just need something else, just make yourself a real basic protein smoothie or something like that you can have at home, just to help refill yourself after your workout. But it does get better. It's just you're trying something different. You're trying something new. It's all new to the body. And it's like, whoa, I've gone from eating this amount to now this amount. So yeah, the body does go into a little bit of shock. But that's, like I said, where I would use that method of introducing the refeeds into your week just to help you get through your deficit. You don't want to be in an aggressive deficit for too long either, because again, your body adapts. You don't want your body to adapt to a significantly low amount of calories. So it's just a matter of hanging in there and doing the best you can and being kind to yourself as well. And just, if you are feeling really hungry and you literally are, it's not that you're bored, it's that you're actually genuinely hungry, then make sure you honor that and just give yourself something else that you need. it's not going to ruin the progress too much. Yeah, so hopefully that answers that question, Alyssa. Does anyone else have any other questions? Again, if you don't feel confident saying it out loud on the camera, then feel free to write it in the chat box and I'll answer it out loud. Hopefully I'm not speaking too fast either. Okay, I'll answer another question. So one of the questions I've got here next to me is, I find protein really hard. I find protein really hard in terms of hitting my macronutrients. So is basically what this person was saying in their question. Now, protein is one of the hardest macronutrients, in my opinion, to master. A lot of people will find protein really, really hard. And that's because before focusing on their nutrition, perhaps they weren't having enough protein to begin with. So it could be that, you know, you weren't, sorry, I lost my train of thought. You weren't getting enough protein to begin with. So learning how to incorporate more protein can be quite a hard task. My advice is to try your best to have a source of protein with every single meal that you have. Try and include protein in your snacks. So aim for higher protein snacks when you're having snacks, and just think, right, what am I going to have that's protein with breakfast? Let's say, for example, it's eggs. Say, for example, it's protein powder. Say, for example, it's Greek yogurt. Okay, now what's my snack going to be? It could be a protein smoothie. It could be some beef jerky. I'm just thinking at the top of my head here. Could be cottage cheese on crackers. Lunchtime, right? What's my source of protein with lunch? It could be tofu. It could be chicken. It could be steak. It could be whatever. Afternoon tea, I'm feeling really hungry, I need something before dinner, what am I going to have? It could be a boiled egg, you know, like, so thinking of protein sources that you can have with every single meal and trying your best to have a source of protein with every single meal. Go back to that PDF that I did put in the group as well. That gives you some examples of what protein is if you're stuck on what protein is, because that's a really helpful guide to kind of refer back to. But hopefully that helps. It's just a matter of getting used to the idea of having protein with every meal. All right, I've just got another question in the chat box. Alexandra said, a couple of days this week during my workouts, I've been feeling lightheaded and nauseous. I've been working out for years and it's not a new thing for my body. I feel like I'm eating enough and drinking enough water, but what could be causing this? Okay, there could be a number of things. I would look at, first of all, what's your blood pressure like? Have you got any history of really low blood pressure or really high blood pressure? It could also be, I'm sorry, I just have to read this again. I feel lightheaded. It also could be, are you lifting heavier weights than what you're used to? It also could mean that you need to have something to eat before you train. And it could also mean that you are sleep deprived. How has your sleep been? So those would be the 4 things I would kind of look at. Alex, do you mind putting in the chat box for me, what do you think? Do you think any of those factors could be contributing to the lightheadedness? Are you training in the morning as well, or the afternoon? How busy have you been at work? How stressed have you been at work? Are you due for your period? Anything like that, if you can kind of elaborate a little bit more, I might be able to help you with that one. But I feel as though it could quite possibly be one of those things. Fran, I'm not sure if you're trying to talk, but your thing keeps popping up on Zoom, but it's muted. So if you are trying to ask me a question, just unmute yourself, or it could just be Zoom being Zoom. I have one more question I'm going to answer that's come through on the chat. And then if anyone else wants to chuck something in there, go ahead, ask away.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just trying to find the question that I had. Where did it go? Okay, this one. This is a mindset one. So this person was telling me that they feel really overwhelmed by calories, and they feel really overwhelmed with prepping food, and they're not sure if they have the energy or the motivation to do so. So this is fair enough, because yes, there is a little bit of admin in, tracking your calories at the start. There is a little bit of admin in meal prep. There is a little bit of admin with your nutrition overall. The best thing that you can do, though, is just do the best you can every single day. Don't try and make every single day be perfect if you're just starting out on your journey. Start with one thing. It could just be, right, I'm going to just try and get my protein on track. I'm going to try and make sure that I'm hitting my protein targets, because I know that protein is probably the hardest thing to really get my head around and master. It's a hard macronutrient to get enough of. So I'm going to focus on this first. And then once I feel as though I'm getting confident with that, then I'm going to start tracking my calories as a whole. And then once you start tracking your calories as a whole, then go, right, okay, I'm ready to start getting into my deficit now and working on that. So break it down. Don't feel you've got to do everything at once, because that could actually put you off from wanting to do it for the long haul. So just do the best you possibly can. And look, I know sometimes it's hard, like you've got other things going on in life, but sometimes you have to go, right, this is what I want. My goal is I want to, lose some body fat, and I want to tone up, and I want to feel healthier, and I want to feel more energized, but I'm not willing to put in the work to do that. You need to really think about what your why is. If your why is that you want to feel healthier, fitter, and stronger, then you need to put in that energy to prep your meals and to start tracking your calories. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've just got to try your best to do something every single day. Because if you don't, then you're not going to achieve that goal. So break it down, do what you can. And if you're finding it really difficult, then maybe you need to ask yourself, why am I finding this difficult? Why am I so resistant against wanting to do this? Perhaps there is other things you need to dig deep into. Like perhaps you maybe have some trauma around dieting that you need to sort out. So maybe it might be a good idea to have a couple therapy sessions before you really dive deep into your nutrition. Like, make sure that you are okay before you start doing these things that you find really hard and daunting, and like they drain all of your energy, because there's no shame in asking for help in other areas as well, to really help you just open your mind to doing something like tracking your calories and making sure you are prepping your meals. Because if your goal is, like I said, fat loss or to gain muscle, then yes, you have to put in some work, and you have to do some prep. And one thing that I always say, and this is when I get my coaching hat on, I'm like, well, you don't have time or energy to prep meals, but how long do you spend on your phone? How long do you spend watching Netflix? How long do you spend just kind of moping around the house? How long do you spend out socializing? You've got to look at all those things that you're doing in life and go, right, what can I kind of take away from that and then contribute into the time that I need to prep my meals and make sure that I'm tracking my calories. Remember, tracking your calories is a tool. It's not something you have to do forever, but it is something you have to do at the start to really understand what your body needs and what your portion control is. So I hope that helps answer that question for the person who mentioned that comment and wanted me to elaborate on it. Hopefully they watch this recording and hear that, and it helps them. It's just, doing what you can, breaking it down, and remembering what your goal is, and just, working a little bit hard. It is hard. It's not easy, but you've just got to put the work in ultimately. And I say that coming from a place of love. But yeah, you've just got to do the work. I know it's easier said than done, but you get what I mean. Okay. Okay. I train in the evenings after work. Maybe I'm pushing myself harder at the moment as I'm feeling more motivated. I've been having an afternoon tea, maybe. Okay, so it could quite possibly be, Alexandra, your oh, Fran. Okay, cool. I was just worried you're trying to say something and then and we weren't hearing you because it was muted. But anyway, all good, no worries. Okay, Alexandra, right. So it could quite possibly be your low blood pressure. My advice would be to actually just go and get your blood pressure taken, just so you know where it's at. If you're working out from the gym, your gym should have a cuff available for you to do that, or you can go to the local pharmacy, or you can go to your doctor. But save yourself the doctor appointment. Just go and check your blood pressure. Make sure it's sitting at a normal rate, 120 over 80. 120 over 80 is your like normal kind of standard rate. Anywhere just a little bit below or above that is normal. But maybe go and check your blood pressure out first if you're finding you're really dizzy. It could quite possibly also be that you're not eating enough throughout the day. So perhaps you need to make sure you're having more of your calories throughout the day, rather than having them all kind of too, what should I say? Try not to have it too far spaced out. Does that make sense? Yeah. So see, maybe this week or the first couple of days of the week, just really kind of examine how much food am I having throughout the day, and then go the next day and try have a little bit more and see if that changes how you feel in the afternoon. It could also be a period thing. Like if you're due for your period, like the week before, Sometimes you can feel like that as well. Different hormone levels can do that to you. But if you do have a history of lower blood pressure, it could quite possibly be that. And I would just make sure that you're having something to eat before you train, and then making sure you have dinner, you know, not too far after you train as well, just to keep your body fueled. But yeah, maybe take a little bit of a journal and see how things go for you this week. Hopefully it's nothing too major, but I would say, like, if you've been busy with work and there's been a lot going on, that could probably cause like the blood pressure changes as well. Yeah, hopefully that helps. But I hope you don't feel dizzy this week, and that it does get better for you. But try those things, keep a little diary, and just make sure we can get to the bottom of this feeling, because it's not a very nice feeling, and we don't want you to be put off doing your strength training sessions because of that. All right, does anyone else have any more questions? I've got no more in the in my little chat box here. So if anyone else wants me to answer anything, or they need help with anything, now is the time, because you've got me here. And absolutely no problem if you don't feel confident asking questions on Zoom. You can always message me privately, and I'd be more than happy to just answer your question in private. 30 minutes before. Yeah, 30 minutes is a good time before you work out. It depends on you as an individual. Again, everything is so individualized when it comes to your health and fitness journey. Like, I find that most people can cope with 30 minutes before training, but if you're someone like myself, I could literally go and have a whole steak and potatoes and then go and do a session straight after. Like, I'm one of those weird people that can just train straight after eating. You might not be like that, so perhaps aim for around that 30-minute window, just as long as you've got something in your system within the hour of training, would be my suggestion. And carbohydrate as well. Carbohydrate is a good pre-workout. Can't talk this evening. Carbohydrates are a good fuel source before you work out. So that could be a banana. It could even be like a piece of toast with some peanut butter, depending on what your calories are. It could be a smoothie, a low-calorie smoothie. It could be an apple. It just really depends on you as an individual and what you feel you can eat before you go to the gym and do your session. Also, take note as to what type of sessions cause you to feel this like lightheadedness as well. Because it could be that, like, say, for example, lower body sessions, you find you get really lightheaded because you're going really heavy and you just need that fuel, or you might need more rest in between your sets as well. Hopefully everyone's getting some value from this as well. Let me know if you are, because yeah, I'm just rolling with these questions, and hopefully they're helping some of you that have jumped on here tonight. Fran, Sarah, Alyssa, do you have anything else you want to ask since you turned up to Zoom? I think it's such a good on you all for showing up on a Sunday afternoon. I know, or Sunday night. I know it's not easy on the weekend to commit yourself to jumping onto a Zoom session to talk about, you know, health and fitness, but I think it shows how dedicated you are to your goals, and it shows how dedicated you are to learning more about what you need to do on your health and fitness journey. Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, when someone asks a question, it's amazing how many people have their questions answered. Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. It's always good to have everyone jump on, because again, like Fran said, she had some questions that have been answered, have been helpful. So sometimes just by one person asking one question, it helps everyone, which is awesome. Well, if there's no other questions for tonight, because I haven't got any more pop in my chat box, and nothing new has come up now either. Yeah, nothing else has come up. So if no one has anything else, we can wrap up this very short session. But if anyone else wants to ask me one more question before we wrap up, please let me know. Otherwise, you can all enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, and hopefully just these little chats that we've had this afternoon or this evening, I keep saying this afternoon, have helped you. I'll just give it one more minute on my see if anything else pops up within the seconds. Yes, Fran, I hope you're coming tomorrow morning, because if you are, I will see you there. I am taking class tomorrow. You're welcome, Sarah. Thank you so much for being here. Just see if there, I feel like there's one more question floating around somewhere, but oh, one person did have, oh, see you at 5:30. Love it. You better get to bed soon then, so you get your 8 hours. I just had one more thing to say really quickly. So someone was asking me just in regards to workouts. So the workouts that I've given everyone on the program, they are like generic workouts that everyone can do. If you need to modify anything, make sure you do. Like, don't feel you have to do exactly what's on there. Like, if you need to modify your push-up to knee push-ups, do that. If you need to modify the sets to do less because you've just started exercising for the first time in 6 months, do that. If you want to add dumbbells to the at-home workouts because you've got them at home, make sure you add them. I'm all for you increasing the weight, increasing the load if you're training at home. So yeah, make sure you do modify the workout to suit you if you need to. Don't feel you have to do it like exactly how it is. Like, if you need an extra push or you need a bit less, just listen to your body and just get yourself into the rhythm of exercising. And then once you've been doing it for a little while, that's when we can go, right, it's time to push a little bit harder, increase the reps, increase the sets. You know what I mean? So just, yeah, follow them as best you can, but if you do need to make modifications, make sure you make those modifications. Awesome. All right, everyone. Well, that was all questions that I've had. Amazing for showing up. Thank you so much. I hope you've learned something tonight. If you want to, there'll be another Zoom session. It'll be Wednesday evening. I'll pop that up in the group chat if anyone wants to make that. But if you can't make it and you want questions answered, please make sure you send me those questions and I will answer them. Like I said, your question could help another 5 people as well. So if we're all collaborating by asking questions together, then we're helping more people and creating more impact, which is most important. So yeah, have a great night, everyone. Thanks for popping in. Nice short session. Hopefully lots learned, and I will see you all at some point, or I look forward to seeing everyone do their little, check boxes. Make sure you keep doing that, because I love seeing the notifications come through. It's like, yay, everyone's doing their work. It makes me really excited. As you can tell, I talk really fast and I'm excited. Have a great night, everyone, and good luck this week, sticking to your calories, sticking to your workouts. You can all do this. You're amazing. Wow.